Well, we've made it to another Friday. Friday the 12th as opposed to the 13th. Of course, you know that 13 is a power number. It's not a bad number. It's a number of power. Cheers, people. Cheers. Well, I found it. Patrick Woodroffe and Dave Greenslade's The Pentateuch. What's this? People commenting on my photo. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'll give them a heart. I'm all about raising positive energy between people instead of hating. So yes, I'm careful with this because it's old, and with stuff like this, the bindings and stuff, this has some amazing artwork in it. It does. I'll just try to show a little bit. The music, Dave Greenslade had the band Greenslade. I like the music of Greenslade. I don't like the vocals. It's like the guy's voice was somewhat like Freddie Mercury's, but not in a good way to me, kind of grating. But that Pentateuch, really for the art value is really where it's at. The music is kind of, I don't know, I haven't really ever enjoyed or listened to it very much. I find that myself, it's like, this is kind of, I don't know about this. I'm glad I have it. And it was in the living room behind a stack. See, I'm out of room. Right away, I want to thank Richard Johnson and the folks at Fourth Dimension Lumberton Trading Company. I just received my copy of the new Edward Ka-Spel Tales from the Trenches LP. I've spun the first side all the way through, and Edward does not disappoint. Now, this is going to be some good, deep listening. I'm giving my first impression, which is good. It's, to me, Edward, two things. I talk about vocals and how I'm not much for vocals. Edward Ka-Spel has a compelling voice. Brown, almost gold, maybe gold, I don't know. Thank you, Richard, for sending this to me in a limited edition version. But Edward Ka-Spel has a voice that I find interesting. Like I was talking about Anja Huwe of Exmal Deutschland. I like the timbre of her voice and the way that she speaks. Her German diction is real interesting. And Edward Ka-Spel has this timbre to his voice that is almost like glass. And words sometimes almost slither out of his mouth. When I talk to him, and I do intend to actually ask Edward to come back and talk some more about this album, but some other things, I find it intriguing that he has never been approached about doing soundtrack work or narrative work with his voice for things like horror movies or science fiction or fantasy, actually more so than horror. I think he has a hell of a voice. And just, again, his imagery through words is very strong. Tales from the Trenches. I look forward to getting into this deeper, maybe even today. I have more stuff to do out in the yard. That's what I'm looking at. Thank you, Richard, for having me on the mailing list. And, if you don't know the music of legendary Pink Dots or Edward Ka-Spel, this can be some pretty deep listening. And I love how he works with sound. He works with sound deeply, which I enjoy and which I do as well. His words are important, but it's the sound of the music. I'm also blown away on this one. It's the rhythms. It's like, hey, it's got some snap to the beat. You know, it's not like it's never been there before. But I noticed on side one, these tracks are kind of funky. Gone with your bad self, Edward. I intend to get a hold of him soon. I haven't forgot about talking to David Hawes again of Catherine Will, but again, no pressure. Excusez-moi. Let me see what's going on in the comments. I'm kind of enjoying doing that now. So, hearing from Cool Guy Wolf. Yeah, not interested. You know, she's definitely in the game. And if people want to listen to that, that's up to them. And then he shares that he thinks that my video where I share, he says, Dereck, this video is amazing. I always like knowing how musicians create their music. Thanks for sharing. I'll share some more. I will. I don't know that I will in this video, but I will share some more. Yeah, Yes Shows is a great album. Patrick Moraz, yeah. Listen to more Sam Rivers. You do. And yes, I did know that Max Werner of Kayak has passed away. He was the drummer and then he was a singer for a while. And I see where Omaha Introvert said hello. It was really good to see you. Cool. It's nice to see these other people who have connections to people and music and different things. It's cool. I don't always want to check out everything. Like people say, my friend did this, my friend did that, and it may not necessarily be musical related. Yeah, I might check it out. I might. I'll tell you what I'm into though. Not movies. I go on Chags. I like to learn. And so what I'm doing for about a week now is on and off watching videos regarding the scientist, physicist, Wolfram, whatever his title is, and this other guy, Jonathan Garrard. And they're talking about computational irreducibility, and I'm understanding it. I like that, you know, these things kind of like, what? And then it starts like, I sort of start to pick up on it. And the thing I can tell about Dr. Wolfram is he is a brain. That man can't stop thinking. So the other thing I was looking at last night, trying to understand better, is Turing machines. What the fuck is a Turing machine? I understand better now what a Turing machine is. And basically that's what computers are in so many ways. But that's what I've been trying to absorb besides music and watching the mad political debacle that just never gets better, just gets worse. So let me just honestly take a look at what's down here. And a pile of $2 records, $5 records are over there. I've gotten through all of them for the most part. I've already eliminated the ones that I'm getting rid of. Trapeze is not in that pile yet. I will contact the person or let them know through the video. You still want those trapeze records? Just not yet. So, folks, this is it already been? Did this come out this year? The Smile. Yes, 2024. Wall of Eyes. This is this goes on my album of the year list. I try to do that much. People like lists. This is just gorgeous and beautiful and wonderful. And I can hear where Johnny Greenwood in particular well, maybe it's Tom too, they're pushing themselves. It's like, what else can I do with this guitar? What can I do with this guitar that hasn't been done before? What can I do that is unique and stimulates me? Excuse me, and that's on here. Wall of Eyes. This is really good. Real good. Listen to this again. The Brad Lehner thing. Dead of Nature. Order. Spoil the entire state. It's a noisy mess. A little bit goes a long way. I enjoyed it. Here's one that I found after looking for years. The Habibiya, If Man But Knew. And these are some young folks. Roger Powell is involved here. I think he was in the band Mighty Baby. This is, these guys are all Sufied out. You know, this is all about spiritual mysticism. It's basically this guy's chanting. It's not a rock record. It's one of those cool kind of records that Island would put out. What a cool label, Island Records. What a history. They've taken so many chances and brought so much cool music to the world because no one else would take a chance on it, but Island would. Thank goodness for that label. I'm digging this heavily. Anja Codes. I like her voice. I like her diction. I like her diction of the German language. Okay, here's one of my, this was either $2 or $5. I don't know if I've shown it, but I listened to it some more yesterday. Thundermug Strikes. Canadian band. Apparently this is a U.S. release compilation of their 2 albums. And this is back in the days in the 70s of REO, everyone from Boston to REO Speedwagon. This fits in there, in that group, where this is, it has a lot of variety. The guys can really play. They can write and sing. And so they try different things. It's a mainstream rocking sound. And there's even some stuff on here like Victoria Muse is instrumental that is based on classical music. They do it really well. So this is pretty cool. This is, you know, it was like, oh, I get to hear this now. I remember when this came out, I could kind of tell it wasn't what I was looking for. But for cheap, it was worth it, you know. Here's one I got for $2. Real nice find. Singer-songwriter Alex Bevan. No Truth to Sell. Part of what got me to get this was it's on the Big Tree label. Big Tree is one of those. This is distributed through Ampex. That I've found that there's good stuff on this label. You know why it didn't break through better, I don't know. Steel Eye Span has an early album released in America on this label. That's how I discovered Steel Eye Span. This is singer-songwriter. And arrangement-wise and music-wise, this is just what I like. The guy's voice is not that strong. It's like it's almost, you know what I mean? It's like it's just, this is almost, it's just a little premature, I would say, is the way that I would describe his voice. Overall, the songwriting and the arrangements on this I love. They use strings. I've always liked that. When you have a good song, like, you know, have you noticed I take records out and put them away, and then I take them out and put them, show them again? I do this all the time. This kind of reminds me of the sound of, do you remember Bob Lynn's Elusive Butterfly? Love that song. It reminds me of that. Scott McKenzie's Are You Going to San Francisco? The sound of this album is like that sound, that if you can reference those. A real enjoyable listen. The words are mostly good. As we get to the last song was kind of goofy word-wise. For me, lyrics really can ruin music. You know, bad lyrics, misogynistic, or just too stupid. You know, I don't mind some comedy, but the thing that I'll notice that people will be sincere. They're, you know, but the lyrics are like, oh my God, I hope you never say this. I would never want someone to say this to me, thinking it's words of love. Huh. Anything else? Oh, okay, yeah. So Bruce Haack, electronic artist, bit of a pioneer. I think he had a children's show, right, on the East Coast. I know I have an album where that's what it is, of him demonstrating sounds and different things. This was a record that I was always curious about because of the cover. The Electric Lucifer. Finally got a reissue of this a few years ago, and I'm glad I did. This is, I would dare say this is Exploito. This is Bruce Haack with a rip from either himself or the label to do a sort of psychedelic record, okay? Because the vocals on here, to me, let me get my thoughts together. It makes me think of things like Hair, the Broadway production Hair. The vocals are really insincere, and you can tell it's like people who were hired, who have nothing to do with real rock music. The music, though, and the sounds that Bruce comes up with on this are cool, similar to the things that Jean-Jacques Perry and Mort Garson do. Pierre Kingsley, those guys. Glad I finally got it. And a couple just to read things. Showed you the Rockets album. Did I show you this album? Yeah. These guys used to be crazy, ended up becoming crazy. This is really good, and this is very psychedelic. Both sides. The last song, Eraser, on side 2. It's like these guys are trying stuff, and they use effects throughout the album, studio effects. This is real good. Rockets. This is psychedelic. That is psychedelic. I showed this to you all before when I bought this at the last record show I went to. Played this again last night. Neil Norman. Not of this. This is good. It's not cheesy. It's good. And the track on side 2, As the Moon Circled Overhead with the Cat from Earth, Wind, and Fire, that's a standout track. This is actually really pretty good. Pretty cool. Worth finding. Worth looking for. Oh, the other thing is that when I showed that album by the band Matrix, I got a couple of comments from people who have the album. That's cool to hear. It's cool to find out that the album was not totally lost to obscurity, that other folks do know about the record. Excuse me. So that's basically what's on my plate today. Let me just take another quick... Okay, I see one. So here's one, a $2 record. I used to own this as a kid, and I think I got it from a radio station for free. The Canadian band Lighthouse. Piecing it all together. Now, when I originally got this, I had high hopes. Ooh, you know, horn band. Look at all those people. They're Krishnas. They were Krishnas. They start the album with the chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So I like this better now. When I was a kid, I didn't like it. I just, On My Way to LA was about the only song on here as a kid that I could get into. I put this on the other day, and it's like, oh yeah, I see now. I understand they were very popular for a time in Canada. Their shows were like very, people were really into the band, and I can see that. I can feel that with the band. It's like they're into it. They play well. So this was cool to get back in the. That's part of why I got it. It's like, I used to have that. I can have that again for $2. What else have I haven't shown? Should be at least something else back here. Excuse me, folks. Okay, here's where is it at? Okay, I'll pull them like this. So, a couple more. The band Rhinoceros, not psychedelic, soul, but from the late 60s, early 70s on Elektra. And they had a minor hit. Well, it wasn't a hit, it was a FM radio hit, Apricot Brandy. An instrumental, I have it. I've had their other two albums forever. And when I saw this in the $2, I couldn't remember. Is this the one I don't have? I couldn't remember. But for $2, I could find out. And sure enough, it's the one I was missing. Better times are coming. I'm so sorry, folks. And on this album, they go even more soul than the earlier albums. It's good. It's good. But just about straight R&B though. Okay. Glad to get it. And this one I got because of who it is. I knew that this was going to be real bluesy, and I probably will not play this. I played it once just to, but it's one for the collection. Graham Bond, look at his lineup. This is where these guys started with this guy, Graham Bond, who I guess was a bit of a nutcase, really into the occult, maybe a little too much. But look who's on there. Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker, Dick Hextall Smith, John Heisman, and John McLaughlin. And they all do play on here. Solid Bond, double album. Definitely happy to have it in the collection. It may get played again, but it's mainly blue. It's mainly the blues. Okay, I'll show that. Well, if I show these, then this will be it. So I'll just finish up. I knew that this was bar rock. This was the precursor to punk rock in Britain. Pub rock. Dux Deluxe. Don't mind rockin' tonight. Did some of these guys end up starting the band The Motors? The Motors were never punk, but they were good, and they were kind of crossing over. This is good. I'm not sure how to put it. Nick Garvey, Sean Tyler, I know these names. Andy McMasters, Dave Edmunds, Dave Edmunds was in the band, okay? So, high level of skill here. Big love of rock and roll, which is really obvious in their performance. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the play. It's not what I'm looking for necessarily, but it was like, oh yeah, well, I can see why they would really go down well in the pubs. People drinking up and just getting rowdy. This was a $2 record. That it's like, well, it's a double album, $2. Ahmad Jamal, come on. Digital Works, Ahmad Jamal. And so the what's going on here is probably his most famous piece is Poinciana. And I think the most popular version of that is a live recording. So the writ for this, but the thing inside, was to capture a great studio performance. And I've only listened to a little bit of this, but he had a voice on the piano that was subtle, but also very approachable. He was very popular back in was it the 60s? Crossed over. He crossed over big time. People were listening to him. I was glad to get that. Here's one. I said, okay, grab it. Johnny Lytle. Close enough for jazz. Drummer, vibraphonist. Solid State label. This is a label that had promise. I have some Chick Corea and other records on this label. So this is a commercial endeavor to my ears. He starts the album with a traditional Tenderly, and then he does Embraceable You. But there's his originals on here save the album. Gwink and Agape Polemos saved it for my album, for my taste, this album. So I think there might be a few more, but I'll stop there. Yeah, folks, folks who are telling me what they're doing, and it's completely almost unmusic related. I asked for it. It's really just a gesture of it's an attempt to have a gesture of camaraderie, or we're all in this together. It's like, I hope you're doing okay. I don't necessarily want people to tell me that they did their laundry and stuff like that. That's but I can't predict how people take my words. So I just hope that everyone's doing okay. I hope that people are getting it more together rather than losing it, losing their minds. Because to me, part of what's going on, I'm just going to continue. It's like, just talk. It really does seem to me like the media, which is owned by the 1/10%, use it to keep the trajectory of modern life downward as opposed to up. It's like the people who own everything, the media and all the resources that we need, like toilet paper and toothpaste, stuff that we got to buy, they own all that stuff. So from their position, there's no need to change anything. They've got what they need. They got what they want. And they keep it that way. And they get it from us, regardless of our conditions. Homelessness is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Homelessness will just continue to increase. It's not going to decrease, because as the unfairness of the economic setup, the trickle-down thing doesn't change, more and more people fall out of the bottom, because it's impossible to make ends meet with the trajectory of the economic focus, which is the bottom line for the richest people. So I'm always observing that and always hoping to see a sign, and there aren't any. And I am flabbergasted that the level of intelligence in general, especially in my country here in the US, is so low that the average person is oblivious to things I'm talking about. And then when you bring it up to people who aren't thoughtful, they'll say things like, well, I just got to make sure I get to work and feed the kids and that, and the mundane. That's why I say they got us by the, that's why I watch, the trajectory is down, not up. So I tried to watch this movie Elysium. It's just a movie. But these apocalyptic end of the world movies that there's just a ton of them, it's just a movie, and they're just movies. But the premises of all these movies show what is happening in a fast forward kind of way, which is the general world is left to shit. The people who can afford to, like Elysium, is like they do what they're trying to do. They escape the planet and build this like a space wheel. And interestingly, in the movie, hardly anyone speaks English on Earth anymore. Most of the people are Hispanic or brown, and all the people up on the wheel in space are white. That's what's happening now. That's why I speak out, because it's just insane that more people can't see it and actually vote for people who want horrible things, a horrible future for us, like Republicans. Dems aren't any better. They really aren't, but at least they're attempting to show a face of decency. I hate how they are compromised by what I consider, if anything, is the deep state. It's the military. That to me is the deep state. This other idea of a deep state, that's just rich people, extremely rich people who can manipulate everything from behind the scenes because they got the money. And that includes the people who say that are against the deep state. It's all such a bunch of bullshit. It's a class war. Have I talked too much? Well, these are my thoughts on a Friday. So I didn't get to any more comments about my work, but I will. Have a good day.